Alright, I think the delay should be running now. I'm gonna have to wait for 3 minutes until I know that everything's working properly. But we're just gonna assume it is. So let us take a look at the lists. Let me put this on my main screen. There we go. So today we have SIP playing the Swoop Racers' famous Go Wide Han list. I think it's a super fun, super cool deck idea, and I'm curious to see how this game plays out because he's facing Sabine. Let me bring up that one. This is of course an aggro matchup where one of the players might have to take more of a controlling role, or it could just be a strict race like you normally see a Sabine mirror be. But sorry, let me just mute the notification there. I think Han has some tools to present higher power threats early because of the discount that's in Han's ability. One example could be playing like a heroic renegade for 1 cost, presenting 4 power to the board. That's something that the Sabine player might have to just take care of. But we're gonna have to see, like Akbar and Echo Base Defender are probably going to be very key cards, forcing some trades or removing some units. But I think this is all about Sabine getting to use their ECL early, and I think Medal Ceremony might be, even though it's a card that not that many Sabines play now in set 2, I think it can be very good in this matchup, just to get those incremental advantages. Let me just message the players, see if they are ready. So if you don't want to see the bracket, in case you haven't seen any games, you don't want to be spoiled, look away now. I'm gonna switch the scene. So this is a top 16 game. Eroth faced already a Han green, but it was the old Han, as they call it, from set 1. Winning that 2-0 is pretty good, I would say. If Han doesn't draw a ramp into 7 costs, then it can be quite difficult. So I think I would still give Sabine a slight edge in the matchup, but Han definitely has the tools. So if you draw the right card, Sabine doesn't, then it's very winnable. Okay, looks like the players have a lobby set up. I'm gonna join that real quick. Okay, everything looks good, so without further ado I'll tell the players they're good to go. Right, so just waiting to get the black roll there. Okay, switch back to... There we go. So they're doing the high roll. That's a 6. and Sip gets it. No, actually that was eroth. I saw wrong on the hand colors there. So Sabine getting the initiative is quite good. I guess it could be a world where you still would want to ping first, so you could ECL into Han's turn 1 play. But this hand is horrible for eroth, so we will have to see what he can draw. Mask Nata is a card that you don't see in any other decks than this Han deck. Okay, so 1/2 drop from eroth side, so that's gonna kind of force his place here. And I think Ketsu is not a card you can ECL, so you'll definitely just play that immediately. The mulligan on Sip's side wasn't that good per se. Echo-based defender doesn't really work against a saboteur. I'm gonna take a quick look what he resourced. So that's a Cassian and a timely intervention. That's something we have to note. It might have some impact on the game, but I think paying 2 for it in an aggro matchup is probably not something we're gonna see. Normally just paying 1 from hand is much better. But Sip decides to use Cassian, so he will at least get a trade there. You could argue you could save Cassian for next turn with ECL and just play a 1 cost. Heroic Renegade or something? No. Ruthless. I don't know. I'm not gonna cover. Oh, okay, I'm gonna do it. Reckless Gunslinger it's called. Yeah. Okay. So he's just thinking on the resource here. From Sabine's side, we see a Fighters for Freedom. I would say that card is pretty good in an aggro matchup because normally you don't want to trade as much. Ooh, very interesting. eroth decided to trade. Not what I expect. I guess he's in the mentality where he thinks, okay, he wants to play more control. He is guessing Han would be a bit faster, so he's not going to try to race. I mean, he didn't really have a wing leader or something like that to be scared of. But I guess Akbar would be punishing. So maybe he was playing around Akbar because Ketsu only has 2 life. So he's gonna drop the Fighter for Freedom. And Echo-based Defender will be able to trade with that, but because of Saboteur, eroth can either take out R2 or just get some damage to the base. Wing Leader is a decent play. Having 6 life on that Fighters for Freedom basically makes it safe to anything that Sip could play. Oh, actually, no, it does not. I was just looking, and Heroic Sacrifice would still kill the fighters, but I guess he would be kind of happy with that. But it doesn't really have the best place now for resources. He decided to resource a Wrecker, actually. And I think, at least in a Sabine mirror, Wrecker is not important. This game, however, I think we will get to 6 resources, definitely. Considering there's still 0 damage on the bases. They will go for Wing Leader. Akbar is able to deal 3 damage here. So that's something. But Sip has a line of getting Mass out, then the Reckless Gunslinger, and pay Akbar reduced cost. So that would be 5 damage from Akbar. So then R2 could do the last one. Could be a very good line. eroth definitely thinking his actions through here. He's gonna play Sabine first, because then he could get more value from Rebel Assault, which kind of makes sense. And then if he kills Echo Base Defender, Sip will not be able to take down the Fighters for Freedom, which could be quite good. So we know Sip has a timely intervention among the resources and a Cassian. So he has a lot of options here, but I think the obvious line would be to just play all of the units in his hand. He of course does not know that eroth sits on the Rebel Assault, so he might still be counting on being able to kill Fighters for Freedom. But you can see there's one resource up. So what you could also do is just play Akbar. No, eroth is gonna get the initiative regardless here, so Sip can't really fight for the initiative, I think. He'll just rather go for creating as much power as he can on the board. And then possibly forcing eroth to trade into mass, so it doesn't get even bigger. So that's then 6 damage from the Fighters for Freedom going on the base. Yeah. That is right. So now Sip knows he will not be able to kill fighters, so he might as well kill Sabine instead. The thing is, getting damage on Fighters for Freedom could be good with Akbar regardless, but then maybe attacking with R2 into Sabine to block a little bit there. But it doesn't really have to, I guess. You could just go base, get 1 additional damage, because next turn eroth is gonna have to decide whether to attack with Sabine or the fighters. So then he could use his first action to kill the other one. Unless we're gonna see another Rebel Assault, of course. Give me 1 second. Okay, Sip's really thinking it through here, but opting for the Reckless Gunslinger. Going to base, I think that's a good choice. We're gonna have a peek here. That's a K2 he's looking at. I think that's a pretty good card. He could potentially on 6 resources ambush it in with the timely he has among his resources, or he could just use ECL next turn, but hopefully he will draw something better. So here Sip's thinking it through. I think it's definitely the right choice picking the Fighter for Freedom, because you need to put damage on the thing, otherwise you're not gonna be able to kill it in 1 action next turn. So now you're at least pressuring that. Oh, he decides on the Sabine instead. Ooh, he gets the Poe top deck, which is amazing here. I think that's probably the best card he could draw, because it's able to kill Fighters for Freedom in 1 action and take out Wing Leader and still leave a 6/1 on the board. And that means like eroth will have to ECL his K2 into that Poe, or he might want to play his Poe first. How's that gonna look? So we should also think about mass is gonna get bigger here. So even though eroth has bigger units, Sip has definitely more units, and yes, he's gonna lose the initiative, but he's gonna put a lot of damage on eroth's base this turn, and especially with Han deploying as well. Like eroth has no answer for that. But I think it's definitely the correct choice. It's not necessarily the correct choice because you're missing now the 5 damage you will get from fighters because Sip can answer with his own Poe. He will take out Mass and he will discard Heroic Sacrifice. I think you should kill Akbar here because of the restore. Yeah. He discards Sip's card. Of course. How could I not see that line? That's so huge. Like, that Poe would have, I think, won Sip the game. So now he has to opt for his Cassian among the resources. That is probably gonna have to run into Poe. Not looking good, to be honest. R2 is gonna go to base, and that's gonna be a IG. That's another good card you could ECL next turn. He will put it on top, it looks like. Still thinking it through. Eroth claims. Can see Cassian come out now. And I think you can't let Poe attack your base for 8 damage, that's just too much. So we will see that trade coming in. And then Sip is just questioning whether or not he will attack the fighters. I think it is a pretty good choice because then IG can use his own attack ability and finish it off. Ooh, Wrecker top deck is quite nasty here. Eroth might want to go for the greedy line and just play Wrecker first to take out Han and hope that Sip doesn't have anything to take out fighters, but I think that's, as I said, too greedy. You would rather just get the 5 damage in while you can. And we're going to see Heroic Sacrifice on R2. So you decided on resourcing IG. I think it's a okay choice. You're not really playing around the Wrecker then, so now when Eroth plays Wrecker, I don't think Sip will have an answer. He will be able to ECL K2, but that's only 4 damage, 5 with Akbar, so it might be game over. I think Sip has still a timely intervention, but that's not going to help right now. He decides to trade. Looking at the top with R2, that was a Heroic Renegade. Makes sense, you don't want that card. So now Eroth is thinking whether or not to attack with Wing Leader first, or just to play Wrecker and kill Han. I guess the restore could matter, but I would definitely pick Han just because of the 3 power, because then Sip would have to have IG or Poe. Okay, he's kind of baiting a little bit here, acting like he has an answer in his hand, attacking with the Akbar, but as soon as Eroth claims there, it's game over, of course. So that's game 1. Going to Eroth. We can have a look at the list, what they possibly are going to side. So Han has a Smuggler's Aid, for instance. I don't know if that's like fast enough. It could be good when you want to get out of for a cause reach if you have managed to stabilize the board, but I'm not sure. Good morning guards are nice, being a cheap sentinel. On Sabine's side, there is Rebel Assault, always good in aggro matchup. Sundari Peacekeeper might be nice to get some healing. I really like Timely Intervention in general, so he might find a space for it, but let's stop theorizing and go back. Sip has drawn his first hand here. And there is some cards to play, but looks like he does not like them. Eroth, however, has only one turn 1 play, being the A-Wing, but Sip doesn't play any A-Wings, so he doesn't have to be afraid of ECL taking out that A-Wing. And we see the Gamorrean guards, or no, retainer I think it's called, Gamorrean retainer, on Sip's side. They might be useful. It's not the best turn 1 play though for that deck, but he has R2 as well, which is really good, being able to filter. Red 3, that's probably something you would want to keep, so you could ECL it into A-Wing. Oh, yeah, Sip was a little bit faster. Eroth is considering whether or not to ping or claim, but claiming is definitely the right choice. Resourcing Red 3. Darksaber is also interesting to see here in Eroth's hand. I don't know if that's a good card in general for this matchup. I have no experience playing it myself. I could see it get a little bit punished by the Sentinels. He decides not to ECL. I guess there's a world where you could take out R2, but R2 is not going to do much. Gonna see Sip answering with Red 3, a pretty good play. Eroth claiming here. Gaining 2 damage now because of the buff. And that's only to heroism units, so it's sadly not gonna be able to buff Gamorrean guards. And so far that does not have Sentinel. So I guess there is a world where you could trade, but now it does have Sentinel because of the Clone Deserter. So board state looks really good now. And here I would say K2 is definitely a better 4-cost play than Darksaber on the current board state. But you might want to save ECL for Poe as well. I think that's pretty good card in this matchup, because as we saw last game, you're able to empty Han's hand because they play a lot of units, right? So they tend to go run low on cards and just be able to deal 2 damage to something and finish it off when they play damage units. And that Red 3 is probably going to do a lot of work if it's not taken care of. He will resource Cassian. Sip has not the best cards here. I think that's a pretty good play, just using ECL now to kind of try to take back the board a bit. Sabine's gonna also come out this turn, so that is pretty good. Getting to draw a card from Clone Deserter can be good to have more options. So we might see Sabine attacking into that. That Echo-based Defender comes in very clutch now, because first of all, Sabine can't kill it, and with Red 3 in play, it's gonna be able to attack for 5, possibly killing Sabine. But we're probably gonna see K2 just running through that echo base defender. So that's going to be one overwhelm, and then probably discarding Sip's last card. So I haven't been looking too detail at his resources. Hopefully he has something to smuggle. Otherwise, this might be the point where Sabine manages to take back the lead. That Clone Deserter has done so much work. Attacking for 6 and healing 2. Like, a difference of 8 is huge in this matchup. And I guess the true MVP is red 3, because Sabine doesn't really have a way of answering that without ECL, right? So it's just gonna stay there. Gonna slam a Poe. That's at least going to be able to take out red 3. But Sip might just want to claim and get 3 damage in with Clone Deserter as a first action. Looks like he will play Han, because that's going to be 4 damage as well, right? So Fleet Lieutenant is going to trade. Let's take a look at his resources. And that's a whole lot of nothing. On Sabine's side, we have Timely and 2 Cassians. He does decide to go for the base. Poe will be able to clear the board, but will Sip manage to play something that can stick? Gonna be interesting to see. Sip keeps both of his cards, of course, so that eroth can't discard it with Poe. So he will decide just to discard a 1 card, it looks like. He might still be thinking about it. Yeah, he goes for the red 3. And K2 is probably the best card that Sip could draw, because the when defeated effect is impossible for Sabine to get around. There's no bounce, force lightning, other weird stuff. So it's just going to be a GG here. That means we'll go to game 3. And notably, Sabine will get to start again. So we'll see how that plays out. No sideboarding between game 2 and 3, it looks like. And I think eroth should be very happy with this hand. He knows there are no spaceships that cost 2 or less in Han that could ECL that A-Wing. So it means he will be guaranteed to get Wing Leader on the A-Wing if he wants. But he's not going for the line, he's rather going for Ketsu. I guess we could try to think about some pros and cons here. Ketsu is maybe okay into mass, because you could defeat the upgrade, I don't know really. I think I would rather go for space. Like, you could risk Sip claiming instantly and then ECLing red 3 into it. But I guess then you would ECL your own red 3 back and have a pretty decent board state. So we're gonna see eroth just claiming. Sip's gonna get out quite a lot of damage on the board, and I think eroth might want to trade here, as he did in game 1. Or he would go base and then, after being attacked, ECL in the Sundari Peacekeeper, maybe gaining some health, taking back the board that way. Problem with the Peacekeeper is he's just gonna get favorably traded back because of the raid. So I don't know, there are many lines to go. I guess ECLing Fleet Lieutenant onto the Clone Deserter is also really good, because that's a confirmed 2-for-1. Problem is Ketsu is not a rebel, right? Yeah, she's not. that really sucks. I guess Sabine could also ECL, but no, you don't want to play Sabine here. Yeah, he will go for ECLing the Sundar Peacekeeper. And I guess that 1 power is okay against the Clone Deserter, because they're at least going to trade and not just get eaten. But he's probably rather going to kill that Ketsu. So, would it be better to attack with Ketsu first there? Maybe, but these are super minor details and none of us know the answers. There are always many lines, many cards to play around. So let's look here. No smuggle cards on both sides. Looks like Sip will actually just hit the base. That's very interesting. Not what I expected. He can play both the Gamorrean Guards and Heroic Renegade. So that's probably why he attacked base, because he wants to make sure that the Retainer will have Sentinel. Doesn't really help against Saboteur, of course, but it's going to be useful later. And playing Renegade and Gamorrean Retainer is, of course, a way of building up the board quite a lot, putting 7 damage on there. The ECL play onto Sundar Peacekeeper is also really good. I think, as I said earlier, in these aggro matchups, you want to use ECL early and just get 2-for-1s, get the incremental advantages on the board, which will enable you to kind of be the one pressuring base. I think that's in general pretty good. But I know it's very matchup dependent. Sometimes it can be good to save it up for a huge pole swing, for instance. But interestingly, he will not attack with Ketsu. I guess he's kind of figuring that Sip. Now I think in that position I would probably trade with the Retainer, because you know you're not going to get around Sentinel without killing it, and now he just took 3 damage to the base, right? Or he could actually get around Sentinel by attacking Ketsu into the Clone Deserter. So that might be what you want to do now, but if Sip presents another green command unit, then we'll be right back in the same position. So I would say things look pretty good for Sip. No real option to Darksaber here. Fleet Lieutenant is okay, but it feels very bad using that into a Sentinel unit. I guess if he trades with the Gamorrean Guards now, or the Clone Deserter, and Sip plays Echo Base Defender, then I guess Fleet Lieutenant into the Echo Base Defender is like a fair play. Looks like he's gonna go. Oh, he just changed his mind. He will trade with the Renegade actually, so makes sense. It's swinging for 4 instead of effectively 3 like the Clone Deserter does. But now you're still stuck with the Sentinel, and Sentinel really sucks when you have the Darksaber, right? Because you have no overwhelm, so all of that damage is just getting wasted. And he will play Sabine. Very interesting. I guess you could argue that it's like the same quality as a Fleet Lieutenant right now. Maybe even better because of the on attack. So that's fair game. Sip's hand looks really rough though. He did draw on Cassian, that's amazing. So we'll see. Eroth opting for the trade with Sabine. I guess he had no real other options. He could have used Fleet Lieutenant on his Sabine leader, but then he wouldn't have had the possibility to play anything else, and he probably just wants to slam Poe. But the fact that there's no ECL should make Sip a little bit more comfortable in this situation, because Han cannot be immediately answered by Poe. The problem though is that Sip is very much low on cards. He's relying on top decks at this point, and top decks is not always reliable. So if he just continues to draw really cheap units and doesn't get Poe Wrecker or the attack pod, something like that, then he might be in trouble, because eroth's hand looks pretty good. He will be able to draw if he kills the Clone the Searcher, and board state right now is kinda even. We're gonna see both Cassian, Han, and R2 hit the board though. So even though he will, eroth will get the initiative and be able to attack with Poe, Sip is gonna present a lot of damage here. And that new card was a K2. And then he will get to look at his top card. That's an R2, so that's really good to filter away. So I think a very nice use case for R2 there. He's considering resourcing the Reckless Gunslinger. I don't think it's necessary. It could be good, so you could get up to 6 resources, not having to resource next turn if you top deck a Wrecker or an attack pod. So I guess that's one reason for resourcing it instead of just playing it for hand, since he hasn't enough resources regardless. But keeping it is of course really good, because then Poe cannot use its on attack to just empty Sip's hand. So it's definitely why he kept it. And now with 6 damage on eroth's base, it's not looking too good. He will be able to take out both Han and the Clone the Searcher, which means there will be 4 damage left on the board, but he doesn't really have any clear answers on his hand, right? I guess if he gets the initiative, he can attack with Poe again next turn and then kill both Cassian and R2. But it's a little bit too slow having to like trade stuff, and that's what I talked about earlier. Getting the incremental advantages in the beginning that will enable you to be the one to hit base, and the other player has to kind of, okay, I will have to do the trading. That's really valuable. So we might see. Ooh. Okay, I don't think I'm gonna intervene here, but I think it's probably not allowed to discard the card that you drew from the Poe on attack trigger, because I think on attack you will have to decide how many cards you want to discard first and then resolve all of the effects. And then he drew the card from Clone the Searcher as kind of when the 2 damage from Poe's effect was resolved. But I don't think it matters much here, and it's not my responsibility to act as a judge or anything, so we're just going to play it out, and then if Sip loses, he can be like, okay, this was not done correctly, so well, we'll see. Sip is still in a pretty good position. So I have 1 more damage coming in from the Heroic Renegade, and then another one from resources that I had completely missed. So that will probably be GG, especially now with the Heroic Sacrifice top deck, enabling any of Sip's units to attack for lethal. So the best eroth can do is kill both Cassian and one of the smaller units, but it is GG indeed. So that was a good game. Interesting to see this matchup in action, piloted by good players. And this means that Sip will move on. Again, showing the bracket now, so if you don't want to see it, look away. Sip will move on to meet Jarl, the 1st seed. Bobo Green. I don't know how that matchup works. Han2 can go wide, but Bobo can also kind of answer with a lot of units on its flip turn, right? So with ramp, Bobo might have an edge, but if he doesn't draw it, maybe Sip can manage to put the aggression on. Regardless, that was it for today. Thank you for watching, and thanks to the players for playing on stream. It's always fun to see.